Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. This episode, I think, give you a little background of myself to let you know where I'm coming from, and you can make the decision if I'm qualified to give advice or not. But I've been through a lot in my life already, and it's been, in my mind, intuitively see this just preparation for something much bigger. And if you're listening to this, I'm sure that makes sense to you. There's just something, an inner knowing that you felt your whole life, knowing that there's something more, and you just never knew what it was. And that's the story of my life. So we'll get started. My name is Jeremy, by the way. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, farming community. My happy place when I was a kid was on my grandparents' farm. I pretty much was there all the time. I was my grandpa's little shadow. And I truly believe to this day that if it wasn't for the freedom of being on a farm when I was younger, that who knows where I would have been. Lots of trouble probably, or just lost the lust for life maybe. There I could be relatively free, and I felt like there was a purpose to it, because there was always jobs to be done, and I wanted to do them. You wanted to fit in, you wanted to be like the adults, right? And really by the time I was, let's say 10 for sure, even before that, I was doing the works of adults, right? As far as farming goes, I knew everything on that farm inside and out and knew what to do. I was a true farm kid, I guess you could say. But my family lived in town, which was only 10 minutes away, but I hated being in town. And I really see where it comes, the big problem in the world is, when people are getting in trouble, it just comes from boredom. They don't have something that interests them to drive them to do, instead of just going out and getting in trouble with their friends, right? So that way really, really helped me grow at an early age. I had a meaning right from the start, even though that's not my full out meaning for life. I believe something that I'm doing right now is I finally feel that this is starting to be what I came here for, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to have several different things that feel right throughout your life. Back then was farming. That's what I needed at the time. Many different things happened when I was younger. As far as mentors, other than my grandfather was a huge one. He had a very big short temper for things, which I have too. You don't get really mad at people, but say something breaks on a piece of equipment, you just lose your mind. I'm kind of like that to this day also. But it was comical, I guess. And then he cools down right away. But anyway, other mentors in my life. When I was younger, so my uncle married into a family where they were kind of true outdoorsmen, bushmen, right? And her dad lived out in the bush in his own private lake that you can only get to by float plane. So I got the opportunity to go there a few times, and I'd stay. I think the last time I did that was when I was about 13 or so. I got to go out there with my cousin and stay with them for a few weeks or a month, something like that, and just live out the bush life, right? The things he taught me about, survival basics and all that kind of stuff, and that it was invaluable. And to this day, I just love being out in nature. I've always been like that. But there was a point in my life where that took the back seat, right? There's just points in your life where you go a different direction, whether you were supposed to or not. It's just going to happen, right? So don't beat yourself up about what you thought were bad decisions in the past. There is no bad decisions if you look at everything that's happened to you as a form of learning. So what did you learn from those bad experiences, and will you make those choices again? That's really all that matters. So after high school, I stuck around for a year and worked for my dad in the oil field. It's more like pipelines type stuff. And then I took off up north and worked in a diamond mine running equipment for 2 years in the Arctic. And that was, especially at that time, very exciting and scary at the same time. Going from, the safety of having family all around you, and all of a sudden I was 18 years old or just turning 19. It gets scary. You're up in the middle of nowhere. You've never been in a camp before. You're there. I think the first time I went in was for 5 or 6 weeks straight, and the very first week I was there with the wind chill was more than minus 90 degrees Celsius. So put that into perspective. Talk about getting just thrown right into it, right? So it definitely makes you think if you made the right choices at first, but I pushed through. A lot of people just can't handle it. They want to go home right away, right? I had definitely some moments I had to give myself some pep talks to keep going because it would be worth it, right? And I made some friends back then. That was in the early 2000s that are still good. I mean, I haven't seen them in a long time, but I still talk to them over social media and stuff, and it's great. That's actually where I came into my first real mentor, that really started talking on a different level to me once he seen something in me of value, not just as a good operator and that, which I was. I grew up in a farm boy running equipment since I was just a little guy, right? So it was easy to move up in those in a mining situation. It was all came fairly easy for me, and I had a good head on my shoulders. I'm a good thinker, and it just all worked out. And he seen something in me. I think more as the way I talked and presented myself as a young kid. He was an ex-military guy. I think he was something to do with explosives in the military. So he had that kind of mentality, right? Extremely nice guy, unless you got on his bad side. But you do not want to be on his bad side. But for the most part, everybody really, really liked him. He's just an old boy that kept saying he retired, and then he'd get bored and come back for a little bit here and there. So I was lucky enough to get him as my boss, and he took me under his wing and taught me a lot about life in a way that most people would never talk to an 18, 19-year-old kid like that, right? Really give me another jump start on things, ways. I can't really remember the specifics of it, like a specific conversation anymore, but it was all about looking at things differently than doom and gloom in your life and white and black, right? He always had a different perspective to make you think about things differently, and that things will always work out, and not to worry so much. He was a very laid back person. Nothing ever got him riled up, which was something that I wasn't used to, because my whole family is the opposite, right? Kind of blow things out of proportion for a lot of things. But from there, after that, I came back to work with my dad for quite a few years up in northern bush pipeline construction, plant construction kind of things. I really didn't like it, but I thought that's what I needed to do, right? That was a long, long grind that took me into the first real low point in my life, where I just felt helpless, and where you're thinking, is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? I need to make some decisions, right? And that took a lot when you're, especially with family, saying you don't want to do things where there's a consensus that at some point maybe you take over, or there's expectations to some degree. But you have to make that choice. What's going to be best for you, right? And that point, like, I'd been in the bush working for a lot of years at that point, living in camps. At one point there, I think I was working a 24-and-4 shift for I don't even know how long. So that's 24 days on, 4 days off. And then 2 of those days are spent driving back and forth to home. Like, not the full days, like half days anyway. So that's the kind of life I was living. The more materialistic life, it's all about the money, right? But you spend more, and I did a lot of fun things that a lot of people don't get the chance to do in their lifetimes, but it never fulfilled me, right? So at when would it have been? Around 2012, I finally ended that and decided to start all over again in the oil field again. But I got a trade, started an apprenticeship for instrumentation. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically anything controlled by electronics and automation of some sort in oil, gas plants, even food processing. It's basically in everything these days. So it's a very broad trade. It's a good thing to have. I did that for 8.5 years. It was exciting for a little bit, then just like anything else that gets repetitive and gets boring. That's the thing with if you're listening to this once again, you probably go through the same things. You see other people that are happy just doing the same things over and over, and you think there's something wrong with you because you lose interest all the time, and you feel like you should just be like everybody else and be happy with what you got, but there's something inside you that won't let you do that. And that's always the way coming, and it'll drag out for a few years until you finally just worn down enough that you just say screw it and quit right there on the spot. And that's what happened to me. Once the pandemic, you want to call it that, started off, I had a chance to either go to like half pay or take a layoff. So that was a no-brainer for me, right? Take a layoff, and that was the first time in my life, like I had anxiety right from the start, like how am I going to survive, blah, 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 blah. Gotta start looking for a job here, like after a few weeks, you just start thinking that the world's coming to an end right away, when really, as of now, I see it as one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It made me sit back, relax, and start thinking about things without having the distractions of having getting burned out all day at a job that you don't want to be at, maybe with people that you don't want to be around. Now it's just you. You're in your own company. Get used to yourself, right? And start figuring stuff out. So since the end of March in 2020, I've been able to, I've skyrocketed in consciousness and perception of life to a point where I finally feel like I'm ready to help people that are going through the same kind of things, right? That's what this channel's really all about. I found it hard to find people going through the same thing at the start, but the way things are going in this world right now, there's more and more people that are doing the same thing, and you can see it, right? They start acting a little different. You can start spotting the ones that are searching, right? They're breaking out of the zombie coma, I guess you could call it, and start to really look for the meaning of life and what can they contribute to society in a positive way. I could never just do a job just to be a job, where people say just be happy you're getting paid. That's not a valid point for me. I need to feel like there is meaning to what I'm doing. It's been that way my whole life. It drives me crazy. I could finish my work, say by 10 o'clock in the morning, but you got to sit around the office and look busy until the end of the day to get paid. No thanks. That's not for me. That's the kind of person I am, right? And I'm sure a lot of people listening are the same way. So anyways, what we're going through in the world right now is leading to things so good that it's beyond most people's imagination. I believe by the end of this decade, this world's going to be unrecognizable in a good way this time, finally. But there's a lot of work to do, and I'm willing to do my part, which maybe right now is doing things like this, and who knows where it'll take a person. I believe that the universe will put me where I need to be when I need to be, and that's where the trust comes in, which is a hard part for a lot of people, including myself. So there's a lot more details, like relationships and stuff, as far as growing up that changed my life too, but we'll just I'll just give you a bit of an outline of where I came from, as far as background. The biggest thing I learned is try to get out of your own head as much as you can, as far as thinking you missed your chance, or nothing's ever going to happen to me, or this is taking way longer than I think. I don't know how many times in my life I thought, okay, just around the corner here, my whole life's going to change. But really, there's small moments of big change, like say jobs or relationships or something. But for the most part, it's a whole bunch of little things that you do and decisions that you make differently than you did before that lead to big change down the road. Every little choice you make adjusts your course to a better timeline. That little bit and all those little choices add up to something big. Now, it's very frustrating at times. I know it's very hard. I know anxiety plays a big role of what if I need to be doing something different that I don't know how to word it. Like, as soon as you start doing things that are out of the general consensus of society as being normal, you're going to start doubting yourself, because there's very few people that understand what that is in the scheme of things, and they'll be judgy because they don't understand. That's the thing. Their vibration is not high enough to understand the perception of the world that you're starting to see. So I recommend, from my experience, just don't even talk to it about most people. Keep your business a secret. Don't spread it all over, because it causes more hurt than anything. You'll get the deer in the headlight look more than you could ever imagine, right? It's really amazing how people just don't get it until they're ready to get it, right? So that's my recommendation. Just work behind the scenes quietly until you get to a point where you feel very, very comfortable with your knowledge, and really it's not even to that point. It's to the point where people's opinions don't affect you anymore. So it doesn't matter if someone says you're an idiot or stupid or crazy. That's more like the word that it'll be. Because you understand more fully that they're just on a level that is not up to par with yours yet. And maybe what you say to them one day and they say that back, something will happen in their life where all of a sudden they'll get to that, and it'll be like, boom, that makes sense now. And maybe something you said to somebody 5 years ago, 10 years ago, will have a big impact on them down the road. You never know. But just don't get bent out of shape trying to prove yourself to everybody, because it just rarely works. You're going to know the people that you can talk to about it. They start coming out of the woodwork after a period of time. But you're going to go through a bit of a lonely point in your life. And it's not to be looked at as lonely. It's looked at as healing. Work on yourself. Be okay with being by yourself. It's the best thing you'll ever do. Don't feel like you're missing out on things. You know, it's the best investment you'll ever make in your life, is taking time for yourself. So I hope this makes some sense for people. And please like and subscribe if it does. Leave some comments if you want. Maybe leave some comments about what you want to know about something, and if I can help, I'll help. That's what I'm here for. So have a good day, and we'll have another episode soon.